Okay guys, so before we get started, I just want to explain why my upload schedule is and will continue to be slow. Among other things, like a part-time job, I'm also running another channel. Basically, I have it so that I do an upload for this channel, then the other, then this one, then the other again. So yeah, I've got a lot on my plate and enough video concepts to last me until the end of the year. We'll see. I'd ask you to check out my other channel. I consider it my main channel and the one I put the most effort into, but it isn't about roller coasters, so you might not be interested. Either way, I just wanted you to understand the situation with the upload schedule. On to the video. Okay, so if 2024 has been anyone's year in the coaster industry, it's Mack. B&M have a new wing coaster in progress at King's Dominion, Intamin have that Flash Boomerang coaster that's finally come out at Great Adventure, and I haven't heard news about Falcon's Flight for a while, but I'd assume it's going well. And they started working on that Fast and Furious drifting coaster at Universal Hollywood, which looks interesting. RMC is apparently still working with Alton Towers, but at this point I have no clue. Mainly they're just making Raptors, and Intamin are making bootleg Raptors, which is pretty funny. But overall, all the major manufacturers seem to be on autopilot. B&M are making wing coasters, typical B&M. RMC are making Raptors, typical RMC. Intamin are making coasters out of concepts they got while they were high, typical Intamin. If any manufacturer has stood out this year, it's Mack. They've taken advantage of this dry spell to make it quite interesting. I'm worried that they're doing it so much that they'll lose momentum, but I guess we'll see. Let's take a quick overview on what Mack has made recently. Earlier this year, they released a new experimental multi-launch coaster at their own park, Europa Park, called Voltron. They got their Power Splash model going, namely one at Six Flags over Texas. They opened their tallest roller coaster yet, and it's the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the UK, you may have heard of it. And they've made two of the more intense rides at the upcoming Epic Universe in Orlando. Safe to say they've been busy. But it makes me wonder what their overall plan is with these large projects, and what their overall strategy is. And I think I might have a theory. Not a crazy one, but it makes sense. You see, when people talk about the major manufacturers, they usually think of B&M, Intamin, RMC, and maybe Vekoma? GCI is seen as the major wooden manufacturer. Mack is usually seen as part of the B team of manufacturers, alongside S&S, Premier, and Gerstlauer. But that's changing. This mainly started in 2021 when Mack unveiled their new magnum opus, The Ride to Happiness, in Plopsaland, Belgium. This quickly became seen as one of the highest rated rides of the current day, standing against other titans like Hakuge, Ejinaika, and Velocicoaster. And from there they just kept pumping out rides, with a good mix of quality and quantity, mainly focusing on power splashes, water coasters, and launch coasters. Until this year, they got a new 1-2 punch in the form of Voltron and Hyperia back to back. Ignore the fact that both of their openings went to shit. Honestly, people really complained about this and thought it devalued both respective rides, but the way I see it, while it isn't ideal, these are rides that are going to be around for a long time, at least 20 to 25 years. In that case, I don't really care if the ride isn't operational in its first month. It ain't going nowhere. It'd be better if things went smoothly, but roller coasters are complicated beasts, and if they need more time in the oven, then so be it. But as a whole, these major standout rides got Mack onto the lips of more enthusiasts than usual, and I think that's what they want. I personally think that Mack's plan is to sell themselves as the perfect in-between of B&M and Intamin. But to talk about that, we need to ask ourselves, what are the pros and cons of B&M and Intamin respectively? Starting with B&M, their major pros are simple. They're popular, general crowd pleasers, there are tons of different models, allowing for multiple B&Ms in one park without them feeling samey, at least to the GP. They have generally good restraints. Not all of them are perfect, but B&M isn't exactly known for bad restraints. Their guest capacity is second to none. These massive rides always have the best operations leading to short queues. and their shelf life and reliability is staggering. They've built over 100 coasters, and only 2 have ever been scrapped. But what are B&M's downsides? Well, they can sometimes feel a little stale, at least to enthusiasts. They don't tend to push the industry forward all that often, at least nowadays. They have been very slow in introducing new generation elements and design language brought on by RMC, unlike other companies which were quick to learn from them and perfect these elements. But by far, the biggest problem with B&M is that they are noticeably more expensive than their competitors. I mean, with their amazing capacity and shelf life, that premium you're paying for is definitely worth it. It's just affording that premium in the first place that some parks struggle with. That could be why some prominent parks like Blackpool Pleasure Beach and Energylandia have 0 B&Ms in their lineup. Meanwhile, SeaWorld Orlando orders a new B&M every week. Now let's take a look at Intamin's pros. When Intamin makes a standout coaster, they make sure it's second to none. Velocicoaster, El Toro, Hyperion, Maverick. B&M may be the most successful company in the industry, but Intamin has a stacked lineup, with Fury 325 the only B&M that could rival these titans. And that variety in their lineup pushes the industry more than any other manufacturer. With the exception of RMC, almost all major advancements in the coaster industry in the past 20 years could be credited to them. And it's because they're the one company willing to just say, f*** it, and make the most batshit insane thing you've ever seen. And their variety in models means that there is something for every park, maximizing the amount of customers available. But let's look at their cons. There are some Intamin rides that are, at best, weird, at next best, uninspired, and at worst, genuinely unpleasant. And that's because their batshit insane ideas really are the manifestation of the mindset that is throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And to be fair, when it sticks, it sticks. But when it doesn't stick, well, Jesus Christ, you can fucking tell. And because their rides are always so new, or maybe it's just a lack of quality, Intamin rides are infamous for being completely unreliable, breaking down and having issues all the time, a far cry from B&M's efficiency. This problem is so bad that it actually led to Cedar Fair refusing to work with them any longer. Also, while they have gotten better with this recently, over the years their track record with restraints has been spotty, to say the least. People talk about how much they love Velocicoaster's restraints as much as they hate Skyrushes. And like B&M, their coasters are also pretty expensive, although it isn't as bad and does depend on what model you're looking at. So, what do Mack have to do with this? Well, I think they're trying to build themselves as the company that has all the upsides of both B&M and Intamin, without the downsides. They don't rush into new ideas while they're still primitive, like Intamin, but it also doesn't take them years to catch up, like B&M. In fact, Intamin could be very useful to Mack, as they could be the ones to come up with a new idea and try it out, but Mack could come in afterwards, figure it out themselves, and be the ones to refine and perfect Intamin's ideas. Mack's restraints are perfect in my opinion. I genuinely don't know how this design can be improved. And they are perfectly usable for new generation elements. Hell, Hyperia has a never before seen element on it. Can't get newer than that. They have a good balance of models, so that customers' options are always open, and they can just make a big scary roller coaster on its own with no theming, or an in-depth thrill experience. Universal wouldn't trust them with Epic Universe if they couldn't do it. Their reliability and capacity, while still not better than B&M, is at least good enough. And their costs are generally lower than both B&M and Intamin. If there's one complaint that people have levied on Mack for years, it's that their launches aren't powerful. I mean, of all the downsides they could possibly have, that's far from the worst, so yeah. And if they perfect that, what downsides do they have? Recent additions have proved that the public can have just as much fun on Ride to Happiness, Voltron, and Hyperia as much, if not more so, than a typical B&M and Intamin. In this time where other manufacturers are said to be on a lull, Mack is thriving and stronger than ever. They could convince Cedar Fair to let them fill the void that Intamin left. They play their cards right, Mack could be the next leader of the industry. Thanks for watching. I know the last video was about Hyperia and this one was about Mack, so also Hyperia. But I promise the next video will be about something else. I'm not glazing this company, even if I would like them to continue doing what they're doing. It's all just analysis and speculation of where the industry is heading. Anyway, my name's been Hyperia Pybro, check out my other channel if you want, and that's where my next video will be, and after that you'll see me here next time. Bye bye.